Marcus Thornfield sat in his sleek home office, the city skyline glittering behind him through floor-to-ceiling windows. His fingers drummed against the mahogany desk as he stared at the security company's proposal. At 42, he had built a tech empire worth billions, but none of his achievements meant anything compared to the 3 small lives depending on him now. His triplets, Emma, Noah, and Lily, were only 18 months old. They should have been running around, laughing, exploring the world with curious hands and bright eyes. Instead, they lay in specially designed beds in the nursery upstairs, their small bodies still and silent. The car accident that had killed his wife Sarah 6 months ago had left the children with severe spinal injuries. The doctors said they might never walk, might never even sit up on their own. Marcus had hired the best medical team money could buy. Physical therapists came daily. Occupational therapists worked with the children's limited movements. But the core of their care fell to their nanny, Elena Vasquez, a quiet woman from Colombia who had come highly recommended by 3 different agencies. She had started just 2 weeks ago, and something about her made Marcus uneasy. He couldn't pinpoint what bothered him. Elena was professional, always on time, and her references were impeccable. Yet whenever Marcus came home from work, he sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The triplets seemed different, tense somehow, though they couldn't communicate their feelings. Emma, who usually made small cooing sounds, would fall silent when Marcus entered the nursery. Noah's eyes, normally alert, would seem distant. Lily, the most responsive of the 3, would turn her head away. The guilt of not being there ate at him constantly. His company demanded his attention during a crucial merger. He left before dawn and returned after the children were asleep. Weekends offered little reprieve, filled with emergency calls and video conferences. He was failing as a father, he knew, but he had to keep the business strong to afford the astronomical medical bills and the hope of experimental treatments abroad. That's when he decided on the cameras. Not just any cameras, the most advanced monitoring system available, with crystal-clear resolution and sensitive audio that could pick up a whisper. He told himself it was for the children's safety, to monitor their breathing, to ensure nothing went wrong during the night when the nurse on duty might be drowsy. But deep in his heart, he knew the real reason. He needed to know what happened when he wasn't there. The installation team arrived on a Tuesday morning. Marcus had given Elena the day off, claiming there would be maintenance work in the house. He watched as technicians placed tiny cameras in every corner of the nursery, disguised within smoke detectors, picture frames, and even a teddy bear on the shelf. The main monitor would feed directly to his office computer and his phone, with motion-activated recording that would save everything to a secure cloud server. "Mr. Thornfield, the system is active," the lead technician said, demonstrating the app. "You can access all 4 camera angles simultaneously or focus on one. The audio is exceptional, you'll hear everything." Marcus nodded, signing the completion forms with a hand that trembled slightly. Was he being paranoid? Was he violating Elena's privacy? These questions plagued him, but he pushed them aside. His children couldn't speak for themselves. Someone had to be their voice, their eyes, their protection. That evening, he told Elena about the cameras, framing it as a security measure after a spate of burglaries in neighboring mansions. She had simply nodded, her dark eyes unreadable. "Of course, Mr. Thornfield. Whatever makes you feel the children are safe." Her response seemed appropriate, but something in her tone made his stomach tighten. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Marcus sat in his darkened office and opened the camera feed on his laptop. The nursery glowed in soft nightlight illumination. His 3 babies lay in their beds, small and vulnerable. Emma's blonde hair splayed across her pillow. Noah's thumb rested near his mouth. Lily's chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. Everything looked peaceful. Everything looked normal. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to discover something that would change everything. He just didn't know if he was ready for the truth. Marcus tried to focus on his morning meetings, but his attention kept drifting to his phone. The camera app sat on his home screen, tempting him to check in every few minutes. He had promised himself he would only review the footage if something seemed wrong, but his anxiety made that promise difficult to keep. Around 10 in the morning, his phone buzzed with a motion alert from the nursery. He excused himself from the conference room and hurried to his office, closing the door behind him. His heart pounded as he opened the live feed. Elena stood in the center of the nursery, her back to the main camera. She was leaning over Emma's bed, her posture strange, hunched and tense. Marcus increased the volume on his phone, pressing it close to his ear. He could hear Elena speaking, but her words were in rapid Spanish, too fast for his limited understanding of the language to catch. Then Emma made a sound. Not her usual soft coo, but something that sounded almost like a whimper. Marcus's blood ran cold. He switched to a different camera angle, trying to see Elena's hands, trying to understand what was happening. But from this angle, Elena's body blocked his view of Emma entirely. The interaction lasted only 2 minutes before Elena straightened up and moved to Noah's bed. Marcus watched, his jaw clenched, as she repeated whatever she had done with Emma. Noah remained silent, but his small hands clenched into fists, a movement that seemed significant given his limited mobility. Marcus's finger hovered over the dial button. He should call someone. The house manager. The police. But what would he say? That his nanny was talking to his children? That Emma had whimpered? It wasn't enough. He needed more evidence, more understanding of what was actually happening. He spent the rest of the day distracted, leaving his meetings early with a claimed migraine. By 5 o'clock, he was sitting in his home office with the camera feeds displayed across his large monitor, 4 angles showing the nursery in perfect clarity. Elena was preparing the children's dinner, pured organic vegetables and protein that went through their feeding tubes. Everything appeared normal and professional. But at 6:30, when the evening nurse came to assist with the children's baths and medications, Marcus noticed something. The moment the nurse entered the nursery, Elena's entire demeanor changed. Her shoulders relaxed. Her face softened into a gentle smile. She spoke to the children in English now, her voice warm and encouraging. "There we go, sweet Emma. Let's get you nice and clean." The contrast was striking. It was as if Elena became a different person when someone else was watching. Marcus felt his suspicions crystallize into something more concrete. Whatever Elena was doing to his children, she was hiding it carefully, performing normalcy whenever witnesses were present. That night, after the nurse left at 9 and Elena retired to her quarters in the staff wing, Marcus made a decision. He would watch the overnight footage. All of it. Every hour. He ordered coffee from the kitchen and settled in, determined to understand what was happening to his children. The first hour showed nothing unusual. The children slept, their monitors displaying steady vital signs. Elena didn't return to the nursery. Marcus fast-forwarded through the feed, watching the timestamp race ahead. 11 o'clock. Midnight. 1 in the morning. At 2:15, movement caught his eye. He returned to normal speed and leaned forward, his hands gripping the edge of his desk. Elena had entered the nursery, dressed in dark clothing, moving quietly. She went directly to Emma's bed and knelt beside it, her face close to the child's. Marcus switched to the camera with the best audio and turned the volume to maximum. Elena was speaking again, but this time her words were clearer, and she was speaking English with a thick accent. "You will move, Pequena. You will. They say you cannot, but they are wrong. Your mama, she would want you to fight." Marcus's breath caught. What was she saying? That the children could move? That was medically impossible according to every specialist they had consulted. Elena's hand disappeared from view, presumably touching Emma in some way. Then she began to hum, a haunting melody that Marcus didn't recognize. The sound filled the nursery, both beautiful and eerie in the darkness. For several minutes, Elena continued this strange ritual before moving to Noah's bed and repeating it, then to Lily's. When she finally left the nursery at 3 in the morning, Marcus sat in shocked silence. His mind raced with possibilities, none of them making complete sense. Was Elena performing some kind of folk healing? Was she mentally unstable? Or was something else happening, something he couldn't yet understand? He needed to see more. He needed to know if this happened every night, and more importantly, he needed to understand what Elena was actually doing to his children. The fear that had been gnawing at him intensified, but now it was mixed with something else, a desperate hope that perhaps Elena knew something the doctors didn't. Marcus didn't sleep. He couldn't. As dawn broke over the city, he sat surrounded by empty coffee cups and pages of notes documenting Elena's nighttime visits. His eyes burned with fatigue, but his mind was razor-sharp, focused on a pattern he was beginning to see. Over the next 3 days, Marcus became obsessed with the camera feeds. He watched them during meetings, during lunch, even during a crucial presentation to potential investors. His business partner, James, noticed his distraction and expressed concern, but Marcus brushed him off. Nothing mattered except understanding what was happening to his children. The nighttime visits continued. Every night at approximately 2 in the morning, Elena would enter the nursery and perform her mysterious ritual with each child. But Marcus noticed something else in the daytime footage that made his blood run cold. When Elena thought she was alone with the children, her gentle facade would slip away entirely. On Thursday afternoon, Marcus watched in horror as Elena grabbed Emma's small arm roughly, her face twisted in frustration. "Why won't you try?" she hissed in Spanish, which Marcus was now translating using an app on his second phone. I do this for you every night. Every night I risk everything. Move, Nina. Move. Emma began to cry, a heartbreaking sound that made Marcus surge to his feet. He was reaching for his phone to call security when something impossible happened on the screen. Emma's fingers twitched. Not the involuntary spasms the doctors had mentioned, but a deliberate movement, reaching toward Elena. Marcus froze, his phone halfway to his ear. He rewound the footage and watched again. There was no doubt. Emma had moved her hand intentionally. But that was impossible. The spinal damage was too severe. Multiple specialists had confirmed there was no possibility of the children regaining movement in their limbs. He sat down heavily, his mind reeling. What was happening? He continued watching, his heart pounding. Elena's expression had transformed from frustration to something like triumph mixed with desperation. She placed Emma's arm back at her side and moved to Noah's bed. You, too, pequeño, she murmured, her hands doing something Marcus couldn't quite see. I know you're stronger than they think. Your mama told me. She comes to me in dreams, she tells me you can heal. But you must work. You must fight. Marcus felt as if he'd been punched in the stomach. Elena thought Sarah was communicating with her in dreams? Was the woman delusional? Or was something even stranger happening? That evening, Marcus left work early and arrived home before dinner. He went directly to the nursery, where Elena was reading to the children from a picture book. When he entered, her expression remained calm and professional, but he saw a flash of something else in her eyes, defiance, perhaps, or fear. Mr. Thornfield, you're home early, she said, standing and smoothing her uniform. Is everything all right? I need to speak with you, Marcus said, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside him. In my office. Now. Elena's face paled slightly, but she nodded. Of course. Let me just let Nurse Catherine know to watch the children. 10 minutes later, they sat across from each other in Marcus's office. He had spent those minutes deciding how to approach this, whether to reveal the cameras or to probe more gently. But the exhaustion and fear of the past days made him direct. I know what you've been doing, he said simply. I've seen the nighttime visits. I've heard what you say to them. I need you to tell me the truth. All of it. Elena's eyes widened, and tears immediately began streaming down her face. Please, Mr. Thornfield, please don't fire me. Please. They need me. Your children, they need me. My children need someone who isn't manhandling them, Marcus said, his voice hard. Someone who isn't performing strange rituals at 2 in the morning. I should have called the police already. Give me one reason why I shouldn't. Because it's working. Elena burst out, her composure cracking completely. Because Emma moved today. I saw it. You saw it too, didn't you? On your cameras? Marcus felt his world tilt. She knew about the cameras. How long have you known? From the beginning, Elena said, wiping her eyes. I was trained as a nurse in Colombia before I came here. I know medical equipment when I see it, and those cameras were not there the first week I worked. But I didn't care. I knew you would be watching, and I hoped that when you saw what I was doing, you would understand. Understand what? Marcus demanded. That you're talking about my dead wife visiting you in dreams? That you're manipulating my paralyzed children? Elena leaned forward, her eyes intense. I'm not manipulating them, Mr. Thornfield. I'm healing them. And yes, your wife comes to me. I know you don't believe it. I know it sounds crazy. But she loved these babies more than anything, and her love hasn't left them. She guides my hands. She shows me where to press, how to stimulate the nerves the doctors say are dead. Marcus stared at her, unable to process what he was hearing. Part of him wanted to call security immediately, to have this clearly unhinged woman removed from his home. But another part, a part that had seen Emma's fingers move, desperately wanted to believe there was something real happening, something that could save his children. Marcus spent that night watching footage from weeks past, footage he hadn't reviewed before because he'd only recently installed the cameras. But the house's existing security system had basic cameras in the hallways, and he pulled those recordings now, looking for patterns, for evidence of Elena's mental state, for anything that might explain what was happening. What he found shook him to his core. In hallway footage from 3 weeks ago, just days after Elena had started working for them, he saw her standing completely still at 2 in the morning, her eyes closed, her lips moving silently. She stood that way for nearly 20 minutes before walking purposefully toward the nursery. This was before he had installed the monitoring system, so he couldn't see what she did once inside. But now the pattern was clear, this had been happening from the very beginning. He called Dr. Patricia Chen, his children's primary neurologist, at 7 in the morning. "I need you to come to the house today," he said without preamble. "I need you to examine the children again. All of them. Complete neurological workup." Dr. Chen arrived by noon with her portable diagnostic equipment. Marcus stood outside the nursery as she worked, conducting the same tests she had performed dozens of times since the accident. Elena had been sent to her quarters, though she had begged to stay, insisting that the children would be frightened without her. Marcus had refused, earning a look of pure anguish from the nanny. After 2 hours, Dr. Chen emerged, her expression puzzled. "Marcus, I need to run these results past my colleagues, but I'm seeing something I don't understand. Emma shows slight improvement in nerve response in her right hand. It's minor, almost within the margin of error, but it's there. 6 months ago, there was nothing." Marcus's heart began to race. "What does that mean?" "Honestly? I don't know. Spontaneous nerve regeneration from injuries this severe is virtually impossible. But I'm seeing what I'm seeing." She paused, studying him carefully. "Has anything changed in their care? Any new treatments or therapies?" Marcus thought about Elena's nighttime visits, her strange humming, her insistence that Sarah was guiding her hands. "Nothing medical," he said carefully. "But their nanny is very dedicated. She spends extra time with them." Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "Well, whatever's happening, we should monitor it closely. I want to schedule follow-up examinations weekly. If there's genuine improvement, we need to document it and understand the mechanism. I'll also want to consult with specialists in nerve regeneration research. This could be significant, Marcus. Even a small amount of recovery would be remarkable." After Dr. Chen left, Marcus sat alone in his office, his head in his hands. He had been so certain that Elena was harming his children, so ready to have her arrested. But what if she was actually helping them? What if, however impossible it seemed, her bizarre methods were triggering some kind of healing response? The rational part of his mind screamed that this was insane. People didn't receive guidance from the dead. Nerve damage like his children's didn't heal from nighttime humming and massage. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Emma had moved, and Dr. Chen had confirmed neurological changes. He called Elena to his office. She entered timidly, her eyes red from crying, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Mr. Thornfield?" "Sit down," Marcus said, his voice neutral. "I need you to explain everything to me. From the beginning. And I mean everything, how you think this works, what you're actually doing, why you believe my wife is communicating with you. Leave nothing out." Elena sat on the edge of the chair and took a deep breath. "My grandmother was a curandera in Colombia," she began. "A traditional healer. She taught me that the body has energy pathways, similar to what Chinese medicine calls meridians. When someone is injured, these pathways become blocked or damaged. Western medicine focuses on the physical, the bones, the nerves, the muscles. But my grandmother taught me that healing must also address the energetic." "That sounds like mysticism, not medicine," Marcus said, though he kept his tone neutral. "Perhaps," Elena acknowledged. "But I was also trained as a nurse, Mr. Thornfield. I know anatomy, physiology, neurology. What I do combines both. I use my knowledge of nerve pathways and muscle stimulation, but I also work with energy. And yes, I believe your wife guides me. The first night I slept in this house, she came to me in a dream. She showed me her babies and told me they could heal, but only if someone believed it was possible and worked with them every night, when the body is most receptive to healing." Marcus wanted to dismiss this as delusion, but the desperation in Elena's eyes stopped him. "The things I saw you do, grabbing Emma roughly, speaking harshly, how does that fit with healing?" Elena's face crumpled. "I am ashamed of those moments. The work is so hard, Mr. Thornfield. Every night I massage their limbs, I stimulate the nerve points, I pray and hum the healing songs my grandmother taught me. And during the day, I try to encourage them to use whatever small movements they might be developing. But progress is so slow, and I get frustrated. I am not perfect. I am just a woman trying to help children who cannot help themselves." "Show me," Marcus said suddenly. "Tonight. Show me exactly what you do." Elena looked startled. "You want to watch? In person?" "Yes. If this is real, if you're genuinely helping my children, I need to understand it. I need to see it with my own eyes, not through cameras." That night, at 2 in the morning, Marcus stood in the shadows of the nursery as Elena performed her ritual. He watched as she carefully manipulated Emma's tiny limbs, her fingers pressing specific points along the arms and legs with practiced precision. The humming she did wasn't random, it followed a pattern, rising and falling in waves. And as she worked, Marcus saw something he hadn't fully appreciated through the camera feeds. The children responded to her. Not just with involuntary reflexes, but with subtle, deliberate movements. Emma's breathing synchronized with Elena's humming. Noah's eyes tracked Elena's movements even though he was supposed to be too neurologically damaged for that level of awareness. And Lily, the most severely injured, made small sounds that seemed to correspond with Elena's touch, as if she was trying to communicate. Marcus stood there for over an hour, watching Elena work through all three children with infinite patience and obvious love. When she finished and turned to leave, she gasped to find him there. "Don't stop," he said quietly. "Don't ever stop. Whatever you're doing, it's working." Dr. Chen confirmed it today. Emma is showing nerve regeneration. Tears flowed down Elena's face. "Thank you, Mr. Thornfield. Thank you for believing." "I'm not sure what I believe yet," Marcus admitted. "But I believe in results. And I believe you love my children. That's enough for now." 3 months later, Marcus stood in the nursery doorway watching something that every doctor had told him was impossible. Emma was sitting up. Not propped by pillows or held in place by equipment, but sitting independently, her back straight, her small hands grasping a soft toy that Elena held out to her. "That's it, Pequena," Elena encouraged softly. "Hold it tight. Show your papa how strong you are." Emma turned her head, another movement that shouldn't have been possible, and smiled at Marcus. It was a real, genuine smile of joy and recognition. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face, but he didn't bother to wipe them away. He had cried more in the past 3 months than in his entire adult life, and he was no longer ashamed of it. The transformation had not been sudden or miraculous in the Hollywood sense. It had been gradual, hard-won, and documented every step of the way by an increasingly amazed team of medical professionals. After that first confirmation of nerve regeneration, Dr. Chen had brought in specialists from around the world. They had studied Elena's techniques, interviewed her extensively, and attempted to understand the mechanism behind the children's recovery. Some dismissed it as spontaneous healing that would have happened anyway. Others, more open-minded, acknowledged that Elena's combination of precise neuromuscular stimulation, energy work, and unwavering belief in the children's potential might have created conditions for healing that conventional medicine hadn't considered. Several research papers were already in progress, though Elena refused to be credited, insisting that the credit belonged to Sarah. Marcus had stopped trying to rationalize the spiritual aspects of Elena's work. Whether Sarah's spirit truly guided Elena's hands or whether Elena's belief simply gave her the confidence to attempt what trained doctors thought impossible didn't matter. What mattered was that his children were healing. Noah had been the next to show improvement. His hand movements became more deliberate, and he could now grip Marcus's finger with surprising strength. He couldn't sit up yet, but Dr. Chen was optimistic, given his steady progress. Lily, whose injuries had been the most severe, was responding more slowly, but even she had regained some sensation in her legs and could move her toes on command. The changes in the children went beyond the physical. They were more alert, more engaged with the world around them. They laughed at Elena's silly faces and cooed when Marcus came home from work. Marcus had cut his hours dramatically, delegating more to James and other trusted executives. The merger he had thought was so critical had fallen through, and he discovered he didn't care. Nothing in his business empire was worth missing these moments with his children. Elena had become far more than just an employee. She was family. Marcus had tripled her salary and established a trust fund for her own children back in Colombia, whom she video called every evening. He had also retained lawyers to help her aging mother immigrate to the United States, a process that would take time but was underway. This evening, after putting the children to bed, a process that now included Emma sitting up for her bottle, a sight that still made Marcus want to weep with gratitude, he and Elena sat in his office discussing the day's progress. "Dr. Chen wants to bring in a team from Johns Hopkins," Marcus said. "They're studying neuroplasticity in young children and think the triplets could be an important case study. I told her I'd discuss it with you first." Elena nodded thoughtfully. "If it helps other children, other families, then yes. But the children's privacy must be protected. And the team must understand that what we do here is not just medical. It is also spiritual, emotional. It is about love and belief." "They understand," Marcus assured her. "Or at least, they're trying to. You've changed a lot of minds in the medical community, Elena. You've certainly changed mine." Elena smiled. "I have changed too, Mr. Thornfield. When I first came here, I thought I was just supposed to help the children heal their bodies. But I have learned that healing goes both ways. You are a different man than the one who interviewed me 6 months ago. Softer. More present. Marcus nodded, accepting the truth of her words. I was so focused on building my empire, on making money that I thought would protect them, that I nearly missed the most important thing, being their father. Not just providing for them, but being with them. Really being with them. And now you are, Elena said gently. Your children know they are loved. That is its own kind of healing. Later that night, Marcus did something he had started doing after that first night watching Elena work. He sat beside Emma's bed in the quiet darkness and talked to Sarah. He didn't know if she could hear him, didn't know if Elena's dreams were real or simply her subconscious processing her grandmother's teachings. But speaking to his late wife brought him comfort. You chose well, he whispered. Elena is exactly who the children needed. Who I needed, though I didn't know it. I'm sorry I doubted her. I'm sorry I doubted a lot of things. He paused, watching Emma sleep peacefully, her chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. I miss you every day. But I can feel you in this room, in the way the children fight to heal, in the way Elena loves them. If you really are guiding her hands, thank you. Thank you for not leaving us alone. A breeze moved through the nursery, though the windows were closed. The night light flickered briefly, and Emma stirred in her sleep, smiling as if at a pleasant dream. Marcus chose to believe it was Sarah's way of answering him. The road ahead would be long. The doctors couldn't predict how much function the children would ultimately regain. But they had already achieved what was supposed to be impossible, and Marcus had learned that miracles came in many forms, sometimes through medicine, sometimes through dedication, and sometimes through a nanny from Colombia who believed in healing that transcended conventional understanding. As Marcus finally returned to his own room, he glanced at the camera feeds on his phone one last time. The nursery was peaceful, all 3 children sleeping soundly. He closed the app and set his phone aside. He didn't need cameras anymore to know his children were safe. Elena had proven herself beyond any doubt, and more importantly, Marcus had learned to trust, in Elena, in healing, in love's power to work miracles, and in the possibility that those we lose never truly leave us. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new victories. Emma would practice sitting for longer periods. Noah would work on strengthening his grip. Lily would continue her slow but steady progress. And Marcus would be there for all of it, not watching from a distance through cameras, but present, engaged, and grateful for every small triumph. The billionaire who had installed cameras to watch his paralyzed triplets had discovered something worth more than his entire fortune, that healing required not surveillance, but trust, not distance, but presence, and not doubt, but unwavering belief in the impossible. His children were teaching him that every day, one small miracle at a time.